Hello, welcome to this channel. Here the stories are slow, long and calm. Before we begin, take this moment while you're still awake to subscribe and like this video. In a few minutes, your mind will be traveling through stars, particles, and the quiet rhythm of the universe. Now simply settle in, close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let's get to today's story. Good night. Tonight's story is about light. Not the brightness that fills a room, or the spark that blinds the eyes for an instant, but the steady and patient light that has been traveling through the universe since its beginning. We often imagine light as fast, because it is. It moves at the highest speed that nature allows, crossing the space between the stars in ways no living thing ever could. Yet when you measure this motion against the size of the universe, even light becomes slow. Its journey is endless, not because it hesitates, but because space itself is too large for it ever to reach an end. Light begins in silence. It forms deep inside the hearts of stars, born from the collisions of atoms pressed together under unimaginable density. It is created from fusion, from the transformation of matter into energy, from the quiet arithmetic of physics that never stops working. Every star you see has been releasing light for millions or billions of years, and every photon that escapes carries with it the memory of that moment of birth. But that light does not leave quickly. Inside the star, it moves in short, random steps, scattering through layers of plasma, taking thousands of years just to find a way out. When a photon finally escapes its star, it begins a journey that will never end. It moves forward at a fixed and perfect speed, constant and impartial, traveling through emptiness that almost nothing disturbs. The universe does not resist its passage. There is no friction, no air, no barrier to slow it down. Each beam of light spreads through the dark, stretching wider and thinner, illuminating nothing unless it meets something solid. Most of the time it does not. The vast distances between objects in space mean that most light travels unseen, never striking a planet, never entering an eye, never being noticed. It simply continues, obeying the same rule it has always followed: motion without rest. The story you are about to hear follows that journey. It is not a story of speed or discovery, but of endurance. We will follow light as it is born inside a star, as it escapes into space, and as it travels across distances so wide that they lose their meaning. We will observe how it bends near gravity, how it stretches as the universe expands, and how it sometimes fades before it ever finds a place to rest. Each fact will come quietly, one after another, like the steady rhythm of distant waves. As you listen, the purpose is not to think of the speed of light, but of its patience. Imagine a single photon moving forever, never stopping, never tiring, never aware of its own existence. It travels through regions of silence so deep that even time itself slows. It crosses galaxies, passes through gas and dust, and continues into the spaces between where there is nothing left to touch. This is not a race, but a continuous flow, a motion that began long before we existed, and that will continue long after we are gone. In this stillness, we begin the tedious journey of light across the universe, a journey not defined by distance or time, but by persistence. A quiet motion that never changes, a constant that holds the universe together, moving forward always, through the infinite calm. The birth of a photon. Inside a star, everything moves slowly, though from far away, it may seem as if stars burn quickly. In truth, their processes unfold across spans of time so long that human thought cannot truly measure them. Deep within their cores, the conditions are simple and exact. There is heat, there is pressure, and there is the continuous motion of particles colliding, combining and transforming. These collisions are quiet. They produce not noise but energy, and from that energy, light begins. A photon is not born in a flash. It is formed in the invisible heart of nuclear fusion. In the dense center of a star, hydrogen atoms collide and merge, becoming helium. That act releases energy in the form of radiation, and within that radiation, a photon comes into being. It begins its existence surrounded by other photons, particles, and atomic nuclei that move endlessly in all directions. Here the density is so high that a photon cannot move freely. For every small step it takes, it meets something else and changes course. It scatters, bounces, and shifts direction again and again, trapped in a cloud of its own creation. This is where the journey of light begins, not with speed, but with confinement. Each photon takes an uncountable number of small steps to escape. In some stars, this process can last hundreds of thousands of years, in others even longer. The distance from the center to the surface is not far by cosmic standards, yet the path is filled with obstacles. Every atom, every ion, every electron acts as a mirror that redirects the light. The motion is random, directionless, and endless. The light that seems so quick to the human eye spends almost its entire early life in delay. The inside of a star is a labyrinth where movement has no straight path. The pressure keeps matter in constant agitation, and within this dense world, energy slowly pushes outward. It is not a surge. It is a slow diffusion, a patient spreading of motion that eventually reaches the surface layer where the light can finally escape. When a photon nears that boundary, it approaches the moment of freedom without awareness. The surface of the star is cooler and less dense, allowing radiation to move more easily. A fraction of those photons finally break free. They leave behind the place where they were born, crossing the last few layers of plasma until there is no more matter thick enough to hold them back. That instant of escape marks the beginning of a journey that will not end. From that point onward, the photon has no mass, no temperature, and no memory. It does not think or decide. It simply moves at the same constant pace that all light follows, the fixed speed that defines the structure of space itself. Its motion is steady and perfect, unaffected by its origin, its direction, or the distance it must travel. What began in heat and pressure now becomes pure movement through emptiness. The space outside the star is silent. There is no air, no resistance, no sound. The photon leaves a region of density and enters a vacuum where nothing pushes back. It will never slow down. It will never stop. It may change its path if it encounters gravity or matter, but even those changes will not alter its speed. Every photon follows this same rule, whether it travels for 1 second or for 10 billion years. This is the beginning of the tedious journey of light, the transformation from energy trapped in chaos to motion freed into infinity, a journey that began in pressure and ends in silence, a journey that continues now across the empty space between stars. The first escape. When light leaves its birthplace, nothing marks the moment. There is no sound, no flash, no change in the sky. The photon that has wandered for thousands of years inside a star simply reaches a point where matter becomes thin enough for it to pass through. Beyond that, it finds no more collisions, no more barriers. What follows is openness, a stretch of space where movement happens without interruption. Outside the surface of the star, the environment is still not empty. There are particles, fields, and streams of radiation. But compared to the density inside, this space feels vast. The photon begins to move in a straight line, guided not by intention, but by the shape of the space it travels through. The star that created it continues to shine, producing billions upon billions of other photons that follow similar paths outward, each carrying energy from the same core. Together they form the glow that reaches nearby worlds, yet each photon remains alone in its journey. The space surrounding the star is silent. There is no air to carry vibration, no medium to hold sound. Heat and radiation flow freely, but in perfect quiet. A photon moves through this silence as if nothing else exists. Its motion does not depend on direction or force. It simply continues forward, maintaining the same speed that defines the limit of physical motion. In every second, it travels a distance that would take any material object an eternity to cross. Yet within the scale of the universe, it has barely begun. If you could follow a single photon from this moment, you would see it leave the region of its birth and enter a space dominated by balance. Gravity from the star weakens as distance increases, and soon its influence fades into the background. Around it lies the interstellar medium, a region that appears empty, but contains traces of gas, dust, and magnetic fields spread across enormous distances. Occasionally, the photon may encounter one of these particles. If it does, it might scatter, change direction, or be absorbed. But in most cases, it passes through without interaction, unaffected and unchanged. The light continues outward, becoming part of the faint radiance that spreads across the galaxy. Its color and energy remain constant. Its motion remains uninterrupted. Each photon behaves the same, obeying the same laws that have existed since the universe began. This constancy gives the universe its order. Everything that light does follows these rules, and it will do so until it reaches an end, if one ever comes. The distance between stars is vast. Even moving at the highest possible speed, it takes light years to cross from one to another. Yet time, as we understand it, has little meaning for a photon. It does not experience duration or delay. From its own frame of existence, the moment it leaves its star and the moment it reaches its destination happen together. For everything else, however, this journey takes ages. The space between is filled with patience, an emptiness through which motion remains steady but almost imperceptible in its progress. This is the first escape, a transition from confinement to openness, from density to silence. What began as energy locked inside a star now becomes part of the quiet background of the cosmos. Each photon carries the same persistence, the unending movement that neither slows nor rests. Across the emptiness, this light continues, forming invisible paths that stretch across the universe, connecting places that will never meet, and passing through distances so large that even their measure becomes meaningless. In this slow and predictable motion, the universe reveals its calmest behavior. Light, the fastest thing in existence, becomes the most patient traveler. Its path is not a flash, but a glide through endless stillness, continuing long after its source has faded, moving always forward, without sound, without pause, and without end. The speed that never changes. Light moves at one speed only. It does not vary from one moment to the next, does not accelerate, does not slow down. Whether it travels through the thin gas between stars or passes near a planet's atmosphere, its velocity remains the same. This constancy is one of the most fundamental truths of the universe. It defines how time unfolds and how distance is understood. Every beam of light, every photon, obeys this rule completely. Nothing can move faster, and nothing can change its pace. This speed, though it sounds immense when described in human terms, is not experienced by light itself. For a photon, there is no sense of motion, no beginning, no end. It exists always in travel, always in transit, with no awareness of the space it crosses or the time it takes. Time, as measured by anything that has mass, simply does not pass for light. From its own frame of reference, the instant of creation and the instant of arrival are the same. It moves through the fabric of the universe without experiencing duration. From the human perspective, this movement is fast beyond comprehension. In 1 second, light covers a distance that would take an aircraft many lifetimes to cross. Yet the distances between stars and galaxies stretch so far that even light's unchanging speed becomes slow. When it travels from one side of the Milky Way to the other, it takes tens of thousands of years. From the nearest galaxy, millions of years. From the farthest, billions. The speed does not change, but the scale does, and the vastness turns that perfect constancy into patience. Every ray of light that reaches Earth from a distant star left its source long ago. The starlight you see tonight may have begun its journey before the first humans walked the planet. Some of the stars that sent it may no longer exist, yet their light continues to arrive carrying the quiet evidence of their past. The light does not age in its own sense. It does not know that time has passed. It remains as it was when it left, following a single unbroken path across the darkness. Light's unchanging speed is also what holds the structure of reality together. It sets the limit for communication, for causation, for perception. Everything that happens in the universe must happen slower than this. Nothing material can reach that boundary. The laws of physics bend around it, ensuring that light remains the upper measure of motion. Its pace becomes the framework for everything else, a constant by which all other changes are compared. This constancy does not mean rigidity. Light adapts in other ways. Its wavelength can stretch or compress depending on how space itself behaves. It can bend when gravity curves the geometry of the cosmos. Yet through all of this, its speed does not shift, even when it passes through air, glass, or water. It is not the light that slows, but the medium that delays its progress through repeated absorption and re-emission. The fundamental rule remains: in the emptiness of space, the speed of light is always the same. In this steadiness there is peace, nothing hurried, nothing hesitant. Every photon that has ever existed moves forward at this same unchanging rate. It connects stars, galaxies, and worlds, not through emotion or purpose, but through consistency. The universe is vast, but its rhythm is uniform, and light is its perfect measure. The predictability of its movement gives shape to everything, to the orbits of planets, to the patterns of stars, to the stretch of time itself. When you think of light, think not of speed as urgency, but as stillness. The number that describes its pace is immense, yet it never wavers. It represents the same moment, repeated endlessly, the same distance crossed again and again without alteration. In that repetition lies calm, the quiet assurance that across the expanding darkness, something remains exactly as it has always been. This is the speed that never changes, the steady motion that carries all information, all color, all vision, from one corner of the cosmos to another, moving always forward, never faster, never slower, indifferent to the time it takes, bound only by the vastness of the universe itself. The empty space between. The universe is not made of stars, it is made of space. The distances between things are so large that matter becomes almost insignificant. Light travels across these distances, passing through regions that contain almost nothing. The emptiness is not total, but it is close. A few atoms float within each cubic meter, separated by stretches that could contain entire worlds between them. In this environment, there is no resistance, no friction, and no sound. Motion becomes pure, unopposed, and continuous. For most of its existence, light moves through this void. The journey is long, but the space around it remains still. There are no boundaries, no edges, only the slow expansion of the universe itself. A photon leaving its star might spend millions of years before it comes near anything again. During that time, it does not slow down. It does not age. It does not notice the scale of its surroundings. It continues forward the same as before, unchanged by what it passes. The emptiness between stars and galaxies is vast beyond language. The nearest star to the Sun lies more than 4 light years away. Between them, there is nothing solid, only scattered particles of hydrogen and traces of dust drifting without pattern. These are so few that they cannot stop or even slow the light that moves through them. The scale of distance becomes its own kind of stillness. The farther you imagine it, the quieter it becomes. Even light that travels through intergalactic space experiences the same quiet. Between galaxies lies a darkness that seems absolute. The faintest traces of gas exist there, but so thinly that they are almost not there at all. It is a kind of calm that has no beginning or end, the default state of the universe. Gravity gathers matter into clusters, stars and planets, but space itself remains mostly untouched. The emptiness is the rule, not the exception. Inside this void, temperature has little meaning. Without atoms to hold heat, energy exists only in radiation. The background temperature of the universe, left from its earliest moments, lingers just above absolute zero. It fills every direction equally, a faint, steady hum that light passes through without interference. This is the quiet fabric through which all motion occurs, the setting in which light carries on its endless travel. When scientists describe the universe, they measure this emptiness not as absence, but as structure. Space is not nothing. It is the field where everything happens. It bends under gravity, it expands with time, and it carries the paths that photons follow. Light does not need a road to move across space, because space itself is the road. It stretches and curves as the universe grows, and light adjusts without hesitation, following geometry rather than force. For the human mind, this scale cannot truly be pictured. The distances between stars are so extreme that the idea of motion almost disappears. The photon continues, but there is nothing nearby to mark its progress. No collisions, no changes in speed, no sound to indicate that it is moving. The emptiness absorbs time and scale, leaving only the certainty that motion continues even when nothing happens. This is what most of the universe looks like. Not clouds of gas, not glowing galaxies, but the dark intervals between them. The silence of this space defines the rhythm of everything else. Stars burn briefly compared to the age of the void. Planets orbit for moments measured against it. Light, though constant, crosses it slowly, patiently, and without notice. When you imagine light moving through this space, imagine nothing changing around it. Imagine a path that does not end, a distance that never shortens, a calm so complete that it becomes indistinguishable from stillness. The universe is full of light, yet almost none of it ever meets a destination. Most of it moves forever through the empty space between. This is the quiet that shapes the cosmos, not motion but absence, not conflict but balance, not darkness but the pure continuation of space itself. The emptiness between is not waiting to be filled. It is already complete, infinite in its stillness, endless in its calm. The slow bending of gravity. Light does not have mass, yet it follows the pull of gravity. This is one of the quiet truths of the universe, that even something without weight responds to the shape of space. Gravity does not pull on light as it pulls on matter. Instead, it bends the space that light moves through, curving the path without ever touching the traveler. A photon moves straight, but straightness itself is no longer straight when the fabric of space has been bent. The result is not a turn or a collision, but a slow redirection, so gentle that the photon never knows it has changed course. Every large object in the universe, a planet, a star, a black hole, a cluster of galaxies, bends the space around it. The larger its mass, the deeper its curve. When light passes nearby, it follows that curve, tracing the same geometry that gravity creates. This effect is called gravitational lensing, and it reveals how the universe shapes itself. The bending is not abrupt. It happens gradually over distances so large that the path seems smooth. A beam of light passing near the sun, for example, curves by a fraction of a degree, too small to notice without precise measurement. Yet across billions of light years, these gentle bends shape how the universe appears. In deep space, light from a distant galaxy can pass behind another galaxy on its way to us. The gravity of the foreground galaxy bends that light, spreading it into arcs and rings that we can observe from Earth. These patterns are not distortions of the light itself, but reflections of the space it traveled through. They reveal the invisible structure of the cosmos, how matter is distributed, how galaxies cluster, how gravity weaves its quiet web across everything. Light becomes a map, not by changing, but by following the rules of space with perfect precision. For the photon there is no difference. It moves the same way everywhere, always forward at the same speed. The curve it follows is not a decision, but a property of existence. Space tells light where to go, and light obeys. This obedience is not active or conscious. It is simply the way nature aligns with its own logic. The curvature of space-time defines direction, and light travels along that direction without deviation or resistance. In regions near black holes, this bending becomes extreme. The gravity there is so strong that space curves inward beyond escape. Light that passes too close becomes trapped, circling endlessly, never returning. It does not stop or slow down. It continues to move, but within a space that folds back on itself. The event horizon of a black hole is the point where even light cannot find a path that leads outward. Beyond it, every direction points inward. From a distance, this appears as darkness, but in reality it is still motion, light moving forever in loops too tight to release. Elsewhere, gravity acts more softly. It bends light near stars, planets, and clusters, shifting its path just enough for us to notice. When astronomers observe distant light, they can detect these bends and reconstruct the invisible structures that caused them. Through light's obedience, the universe reveals its own shape. The light does not resist this process. It does not change speed or brightness because of it. It merely adapts to the path that space provides, continuing its travel along curves that seem straight within their own frame. This bending of light also shows the unity between matter and space. Gravity does not exist apart from geometry. It is the geometry. The presence of mass changes how straight lines behave, and light, which always moves straight, demonstrates this change perfectly. The photon becomes a quiet witness to the architecture of reality, tracing each subtle curve and carrying that information forward across time. When you imagine light bending near a star or a massive planet, imagine the slowness of it. There is no sudden turn, no visible distortion, only an invisible adjustment, spread across immense distances. It happens silently, predictably, with mathematical precision. The light continues forward, never knowing that its straight path has been reshaped by the weight of worlds. This is how gravity touches what cannot be touched. It bends space, and space guides light, and through that simple interaction, the universe gains structure. Every photon that has ever existed moves along these curves, each one following a route defined not by force, but by the shape of the cosmos itself. The long red shift. As light travels through space, the universe itself changes beneath it. The space it crosses is not fixed or still. It stretches. Every distant galaxy moves away from every other, not through motion in space, but through the expansion of space itself. This quiet expansion has continued since the beginning, and light, constant in its speed, must move through that changing fabric. The effect is simple yet endless. The wavelength of light becomes longer, its color shifts toward red, and its energy grows weaker. This process is called redshift, and it happens everywhere, to every photon, across all of time. When light first begins its journey, its wavelength might be short, its energy high and its color vivid. As it moves outward through the stretching universe, the distance between its wave peaks increases. The light does not slow down. The expansion of space pulls the wave apart, spreading it thin across the void. To the photon, nothing has changed. It moves at the same constant pace. But to an observer, the light has cooled. Its frequency has dropped. The same photon that once left a bright blue star may now arrive as a faint, invisible whisper in the radio range of the spectrum. This stretching is not caused by distance alone. It is caused by time itself, by the continuous unfolding of the universe. Every moment that passes expands space just a little more, and with it, every ray of light becomes just a little longer. The process is steady, without interruption. No matter how far light travels, space continues to expand beneath it. The farther the distance, the greater the shift. Across billions of years, the change becomes so large that the original color of the light disappears completely, replaced by a wavelength too long for the human eye to see. The redshift is not destruction. The light does not vanish. It merely transforms, losing the sharpness of its energy but not its existence. Its frequency decreases in perfect proportion to the expansion around it. What was once blue becomes red. What was once visible becomes infrared. What was once infrared becomes microwave, and what was once microwave becomes radio. Each photon remains what it always was, a packet of energy in motion, but its rhythm slows in harmony with the growing universe. Through this slow stretching, light records the age of the cosmos. Astronomers can measure how much the wavelength has expanded and calculate how long that light has been traveling. The farther the source, the greater the redshift. In this way, light serves as both messenger and clock. It carries the imprint of time not by counting seconds, but by showing how much the universe has grown during its passage. A photon that has crossed 10 billion years of space has stretched along with it. Its frequency now a small fraction of what it once was. The expansion of space is silent. It does not tear or break. It simply increases the distance between things, even between the crests of a wave of light. Nothing resists it because it is not motion within space. It is the stretching of space itself. Galaxies drift apart, not because they move through the void, but because the void between them becomes larger. Every beam of light is caught in this quiet process, lengthened gently, continuously, without friction or force. In this sense, redshift is not a sign of loss, but of age. It marks the passage of cosmic time in a way that no clock can replicate. Each photon that reaches us carries with it the history of expansion, a faint record of how space has changed since it began its journey. Even the background radiation that fills all directions, the oldest light in existence, is a remnant of this same stretching, its wavelength extended over billions of years until it has become a cool, uniform glow. Imagine light moving endlessly through this expanding universe, its waves growing longer, its color fading slowly into lower tones. There is no resistance, no stopping point, no end to the process. As space continues to grow, the light continues to stretch, becoming softer, quieter, colder. Eventually, its energy will be so spread out that it will blend completely with the background of the universe, indistinguishable from the faint radiation that fills all space. This is the long redshift, the quiet transformation of light into the rhythm of time itself, a process that never stops, never reverses, and never hurries. Through it, the universe keeps its balance, expanding slowly as light fades gently within it, turning brightness into calm, energy into rest, and motion into silence. The faint arrival. After traveling through vast and empty distances, a few photons eventually reach a destination. Most never do, but some cross paths with a world that happens to lie within their trajectory. When they arrive, their journey ends not with brilliance, but with absorption. The photon meets an atom, a molecule, or a surface, and in that contact its motion stops. Its energy transfers quietly into matter, becoming warmth or reflection or color. That is how light, which has traveled across millions of years, becomes visible for an instant before it disappears again into stillness. When light reaches Earth, it enters an atmosphere that changes it. The air is dense compared to space. Molecules scatter shorter wavelengths more easily than longer ones, separating colors and creating the blue of the daytime sky. The light that appears yellow from the sun is, in truth, a mixture of many wavelengths. Each photon behaves the same as it enters the air, absorbed, redirected, or allowed to pass. Some reach the ground, some meet clouds, some are reflected back into space. All obey the same laws, each interaction a conclusion to an individual journey that began long before. A photon that has traveled from a distant star may have been in motion for thousands or millions of years. In that time, stars have died, galaxies have shifted, and space itself has stretched. Yet when that photon meets an eye, it finishes its journey in less than a heartbeat. The energy it carried transforms into electrical signals in the retina, and in that transformation, the light ceases to be. The person who sees it does not sense the time it has crossed. They see only a color, a glimmer, a point of brightness in the night sky. The long and patient journey of the photon ends as vision, and that vision lasts for only a moment. When light strikes other surfaces, the process is equally brief. It warms a rock, glints from a lake, or disappears into the dark soil. Its existence becomes energy again, spreading as heat or reflection. None of this happens dramatically. The absorption is gentle, governed by probability. A photon may travel billions of years before striking a single grain of dust, and when it does, the event is quiet and complete. The dust warms slightly, the light is gone, and the balance of energy remains unchanged. From this process, the colors of the world emerge. Blue skies, green leaves, and the soft glow of the horizon are all outcomes of scattering and reflection, the final interactions of countless photons that have finished their voyage. The variety of color that surrounds life on Earth is an illusion created by the different ways matter accepts or rejects light. The light itself has no color. Its wavelength only determines how it behaves. The mind gives it hue and meaning, but the universe does not. To the photon there is no blue or red, no brightness or shadow, only the end of motion. The faintness of arrival reflects the scale of what preceded it. The energy that fills the sky during the day comes from a star that lies nearly 150 million kilometers away. Yet its brightness feels complete because so many photons reach us every second. A single candle, by contrast, sends light only across a room. Both obey the same physics, only differing in quantity. In every case, the story is the same. A photon travels until it meets something that can stop it. The difference lies in how many arrive and how long they have been in motion. Even the light from distant galaxies follows this rule. Some of it reaches Earth as faint red glows, invisible to the eye but captured by instruments. Astronomers record it, measure it, and learn from it. Yet in doing so, they also end the journey of those photons. The act of observation consumes them, transforming their energy into knowledge. In this way, the universe reveals itself by giving up pieces of its light, one particle at a time, each carrying a story of distance, gravity, and expansion. Every photon that reaches us represents success against almost impossible odds. It has traveled through dust, gas, and magnetic fields, across cosmic voids, through the pull of gravity, and into the moving atmosphere of a small planet orbiting an ordinary star. It has survived collisions, scattering, and the slow stretching of time itself. And yet its arrival is quiet, a tiny exchange of energy, so small that it happens billions of times every second without notice. This is the faint arrival, the end of an immense journey, that ends not in light's triumph, but in its absorption. It is the soft moment when motion becomes rest, when energy becomes warmth, and when the universe's most patient traveler finally ceases to exist, having done nothing more and nothing less than move from one place to another in perfect silence. The ancient light of the beginning. Long before stars existed, long before galaxies gathered into shapes, there was only heat, an ocean of energy without form, spreading evenly through space. The universe was young, dense and bright, a place where light could not travel freely. Every photon collided almost instantly with matter, trapped within a haze of charged particles that filled the entire cosmos. This was not chaos in sound or motion, because there was no sound and no direction. It was uniformity, a balance so complete that every point was the same as every other. In this ancient heat, the story of light began. As the universe expanded, it cooled. The particles that had once scattered photons began to combine, forming neutral atoms. Slowly the fog cleared. For the first time, light could move without constant interruption. The moment this happened, the universe became transparent. The photons released at that time began a journey that has never ended. They have been traveling ever since, spreading with the expansion of space, their wavelength stretching longer and longer over billions of years. That light, still crossing the cosmos today, is known as the cosmic microwave background. It is the oldest visible trace of the universe's beginning. This ancient radiation fills all of space equally. It comes from every direction, steady and unbroken, a uniform background that never changes. No matter where you look in the sky, that same faint glow remains. It is not bright, not colored, not flickering. It is the quiet residue of what once was, cooled and weakened by time, but still present. Its temperature is just above absolute zero, a little more than 2.5 degrees on the Kelvin scale. Yet in that near silence, it carries information about everything that has happened since the beginning. The density of matter, the rate of expansion, the traces of the first fluctuations that would later become stars and galaxies. The photons that make up this ancient light are the oldest travelers in existence. They began their journey more than 13 billion years ago and have not stopped since. They have passed through an expanding universe, through the formation of galaxies, through clouds of gas and fields of gravity. Most of the time they have met nothing. They continue to move in straight lines, their paths stretched along with the growth of space. Each one carries the same story, told in the length of its wavelength, in the faint variations of its temperature. To detect this light is to listen to the earliest whisper of the cosmos. When instruments measure the microwave background, what they observe is not a remnant of stars, but of the time before stars existed. The smoothness of this radiation reveals how evenly the universe began, and the small irregularities within it show where matter would later gather. The faint differences are measured in millionths of a degree, yet they contain the entire structure of what would one day become galaxies, planets, and life. This light is not only ancient, it is foundational. It is the quiet map of everything that followed. Despite its age, this light has not faded into nothing. It persists, growing colder with the expansion of the universe, but never disappearing. As space continues to stretch, its wavelength lengthens, turning visible light into infrared, infrared into microwave, and microwave eventually into radio waves. Even when the universe becomes too large and too diffuse for stars to form, This radiation will remain, its energy spread across a cosmos grown silent. The photons will keep traveling, unchanged in their speed, undisturbed by the emptiness they move through. When you imagine this ancient light, imagine not brightness but presence. It is not a beam or a ray, but a constant field that surrounds everything. It does not flicker or move relative to us, because it fills space uniformly. Every breath you take passes through it. Every place in the universe is immersed in it. It is the last remnant of the time when everything was still connected, when there was no distance, no separation, only the shared glow of creation. This is the light of the beginning, quiet, patient, and endless. It has been traveling longer than any star has burned, longer than any planet has existed, longer than any form of life has opened its eyes to see. It does not age, but it cools, losing energy slowly as the universe expands. One day, when the stars have faded and galaxies have drifted too far apart to see one another, this faint radiation will still remain, a soft and constant reminder that everything that ever was began in light. The ancient light of the beginning continues its journey now, passing silently through you, through Earth, through every corner of space. It asks for nothing, carries no message, and never stops. It simply moves forward, unchanged since the universe was new, patient as time itself, a quiet echo of everything that once existed and everything that still remains. The light that never arrives. Not all light reaches a destination. Most of it does not. Across the universe, countless photons move in directions that will never lead them toward a planet, a star, or an eye. They travel through space that expands faster than they can cross, drifting endlessly into regions that recede beyond contact. These photons are not lost, because loss requires an end. They simply continue. Their motion has no boundary, no interruption, and no purpose other than persistence. They are the light that never arrives. When the universe expands, distant galaxies move away from one another. The farther apart they are, the faster this separation occurs. Beyond a certain distance, the expansion happens faster than light can bridge the gap. Any photon traveling toward us from that region will never reach its destination because the space between keeps growing. The light stretches, its wavelength becomes longer and its energy weaker, until eventually it blends into the cold background of the cosmos. It does not stop moving, it simply moves forever. In this quiet process, the universe defines its horizon, a limit beyond which no information can travel, no signal can cross, no light can arrive. What lies beyond that horizon still exists, but it is unreachable. The photons leaving those distant galaxies are carried outward faster than their speed can compensate. To them, nothing has changed. They continue at the same constant pace, always moving forward, unaware that the destination they aim for recedes faster than motion itself. This is not a violent separation. There is no tearing, no collision, only expansion, smooth, steady, inevitable. Space stretches, and light stretches with it. The waves lengthen into lower and lower frequencies, their energy spread thin across an ever-growing emptiness. Over billions of years, these photons fade beyond detection, their presence reduced to the faintest traces of radiation that can no longer be distinguished from the background of the universe. Yet their motion remains. Even when they are too weak to measure, They continue to travel through a space that will never let them arrive. Every point in the universe experiences this in the same way. From any galaxy, there are regions receding faster than light. Every observer, no matter where they stand, sees a boundary beyond which the universe becomes unreachable. The expansion does not have a center. It happens everywhere equally. The horizon is not a wall, but a limit of connection. Beyond it, light and information flow outward forever, becoming part of the silent regions that no one will ever see. The photons that never arrive are not wasted. They fill the universe with faint energy, maintaining its quiet balance. Their presence gives the cosmos its low, uniform glow, a background so steady that it defines emptiness itself. This residual light is not seen as illumination, but as equilibrium, a soft reminder that motion continues even where perception ends. The expansion of the universe ensures that more and more light will share this fate. As galaxies drift farther apart, fewer photons will reach other worlds. The sky will grow darker, not because light has disappeared, but because it is moving beyond reach. In the far future, only the nearest sources of light will remain visible. Distant galaxies will fade from view as their photons become too stretched to detect. Eventually, even the background radiation will cool into wavelengths too long for any instrument to sense. The universe will not be dark, only invisible, filled with light so weak and spread out that it cannot interact with matter. Motion will continue, but without contact. Energy will exist, but without exchange. The cosmos will enter an era where light travels endlessly, crossing distances that grow faster than time itself. This fate is not sad, nor is it strange. It is simply the natural consequence of expansion. Light does not resist it. It does not slow, complain, or fade by choice. It adapts perfectly, following the changing structure of space with the same steady rhythm it has always had. Even as the universe grows cold and diffuse, the law that governs light remains. It moves forward, always at the same speed, always along the same curves of space-time, without pause and without destination. The light that never arrives is the quietest expression of persistence. It represents motion without end, purpose without arrival, energy without conclusion. It turns the idea of distance into calm, replacing urgency with continuity. Somewhere beyond the visible universe, countless photons are still moving, their wavelengths stretched beyond imagination, their energy scattered through the growing silence. They are not gone. They are simply continuing. This is the final truth of light, that it does not need to reach anywhere to exist. Its meaning is not in its arrival, but in its motion. It began with the first spark of the universe and will continue long after the last star fades. Even when there is nothing left to illuminate, light will still be there, crossing space that expands forever, tracing paths that lead nowhere, maintaining the slow rhythm of existence that never truly ends. Ending silence. The story of light ends without an ending. Across the universe, photons continue to move in every direction, obeying the same rule that has guided them since the first moments of time. There is no final flash, no fading sound, no conclusion to mark the close of their journey. They simply continue, each one carrying the same steady pace, the same perfect rhythm, through a space that has no edges and no center. The light that began billions of years ago still travels now, unchanged in its motion, indifferent to the passage of time. If you could step outside of every world and look across the universe, you would not see brightness or darkness, but continuity. Light stretches endlessly between stars, galaxies, and clusters, forming patterns that never stand still yet never feel rushed. Every photon moves along its own path, each direction balanced by another. Together they create a background of motion so uniform that it appears still. The universe in its truest state is neither loud nor silent. It is a steady hum, a calm vibration of existence that has lasted since the beginning. The same light that once filled the early universe continues to cool as space expands. Its energy spreads thinner, its wavelengths lengthen, its temperature falls. Over unimaginable spans of time, the glow that once illuminated everything will become so faint that it merges with the very fabric of emptiness. The stars will vanish one by one as their fuel runs out. Their remnants will drift apart until gravity itself no longer binds them. The galaxies will fade, and the last photons they release will continue outward into a space that grows colder, wider, and quieter. Even then, motion will not stop. Light will keep traveling through a cosmos that no longer changes. Its energy spreads so evenly that it becomes indistinguishable from stillness. Time will stretch until it loses meaning, and in that stretch, light will continue to define the structure of what remains. It will not decay or tire. It will not arrive anywhere. It will simply exist, as it always has, as the measure of everything that was ever real. For now, light still reaches us. The stars that fill the night sky send their photons across distances so immense that each one becomes a message from the past. Every point of light is ancient, its journey counted in millions or billions of years. When you look at them, you are not seeing the present. You are seeing the persistence of motion, the quiet patience of energy that has crossed the void to reach your eyes. And when those photons are absorbed, their long travel ends in a single instant of perception, a brief connection between what was and what is. If you close your eyes, the same light remains around you. Invisible, constant, silent. It passes through the air, through your body, through the planet itself. It does not need sight to exist. It simply moves, carrying the record of time within its wavelength. You are surrounded by it always, living within the same flow of photons that began at the dawn of the universe. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every moment unfolds inside this slow and endless ocean of light. As this story ends, there is nothing to conclude, only continuation. The universe remains vast. Light continues to travel. Nothing has stopped. Nothing ever will. Each photon moves forward, indifferent to whether it will arrive, content to exist as motion itself. The silence that follows is not absence but balance, the steady state of a cosmos where everything that once burned brightly has become calm. Now, let the thought of that silence fill your mind. Imagine the slow turning of galaxies, the fading of stars, the gentle stretching of light across the void. Imagine how stillness itself can contain motion, how emptiness can be full. The universe is quiet, but not empty. It hums softly in wavelengths too long to hear, too faint to see, a background of calm that touches everything. Breathe in the air that light makes visible. Breathe out the warmth that light once gave. Let your thoughts drift into the same rhythm that governs the cosmos, unhurried, constant, predictable. The story of light does not end. It continues in silence, spreading endlessly through the dark, where every second is an echo of the first. Light continues to travel. Nothing has stopped. Nothing ever will.